Well, good morning, good evening for me, driving home after a long week. So today we're going to talk about the need to have a positive mindset, but I just want to express some really interesting stuff that I've discovered in pursuing a positive mindset. So welcome on in here and listen up. 20 minutes, won't take long, and you'll walk away with some better insights. You may even say, hey, you know what, this guy Brent really is talking some sense. So let's get into it. Okay. Let me pause this for a sec. And we're back. Okay, so the Real Man project slightly tainted that name, Real Man. It infers, I guess, or it may trigger people to think, well, you know, who's this bigoted male guy? Is he promoting toxic masculinity? It's interesting how these labels come about, normally from the left, liberal stream thinking. Okay, I'm a male, and the Real Man project broadcasts once a week, and I'm committed to doing this because I've recently, and this is the segue into what I'm going to talk about today, I've recently started working for myself. That was so this has been the first week, and I want to talk to you about how it has been for me. I woke up Monday, and life's been incredible because she's sort of reflected the kind of, it's almost, females do this, they mirror how they think your expectation would be. So she was like, whoop, whoop, you know, you work for yourself, oh, how do you feel? And I, admittedly this morning I said, oh, can you tell my boss that I'm going to be sick today? So I was excited, and I remember going to my place of business. I'm currently looking after a company, and a small company, and in doing that I realised that every single hour that I put in here, as well as in my own company, it's accounted for. So there's no backstop. And I started thinking about how, when you look across the fence, when you have that, I guess, that phrase of the grass is greener on the other side, well, the perspective is completely different on the other side. Suddenly it's the most strangest experience, but I'm looking at my time management, and everything is now suddenly matching. And it's almost as if I'm completely motivated. So I'm seeing things in hour slots. I'm looking at my watch and going, wow, I've still got time to do such and such. And I don't know what's happened, but it's incredibly empowering. And when you've got that sort of momentum and you've got a desire to do something, it may not necessarily be starting a new business, but when you've got a desire to make something happen and be successful, you're going to look at all the angles to do that. I ventured out early in life into a business as a means to an end to become a qualified mechanic. I was working out of a friend's garage, and that led on to other opportunities. So I didn't really consider, or have considered myself to be an astute business person. But over the years, and in the Real Man Speaks catalogue, you'll see and hear of my struggles. And you might say, well, you know, it's a kind of life that is typical, normal. This is what we experience in life. But I'm coming from the perspective of being damaged as a kid, not having great parents, in fact having rotten parents who rather controlled me but didn't grow me up to mature me, to prepare me for the onset of the world, the onset of modern living, and didn't support me either financially or emotionally. So I have to admit, it's heartbreaking for me to think, wow, there are kids out there that are almost experiencing this themselves. This led me on to why the Real Man Project came about, and I keep iterating that masculinity, that young guys just don't have fatherly figures. That's become an epidemic. In fact, people are doing um, incredible studies and saying that the suicide rate's up because it could be attributed to the lack of fathers. Kids who are raised in same-sex marriages, especially I've heard a few females speaking about how they had this inner desire to have a dad. Well, my concept of masculinity is that it lives, this DNA, who you are as a man, it lives within you. It's something that you were born with and you grow into, right? The male mindset. I mean, you might say, okay, it's hormones, it's a completely physical aspect of being a male, and there are ways, but to do that, there are ways to do that, right? There's rites of passage to be comfortable in your own skin, and we've got multiple avenues of exploration, experimentation, and yet I boil back to the fact that the Creator designed us, made us a certain way, and if we tap into that, then we understand and discover that it's actually blueprinted in our DNA to be real men. Okay, so where was I? Alright, so I had this situation, a very delicate business situation. And normally, I've noted over this week, there's been a lot of decisions made and a huge amount of pressure to be controlled, to be in control, and not to let emotions rise up and take over. This usually comes about when we're under pressure or we're challenged in a certain way. And in years past, when challenge and pressure have come, I've folded because I've kind of I've either thought that I couldn't cope, or got angry, or little did I know I had a latent victimhood mindset. I had the mindset of a victim. I'd turn to blame, and I'd be angry with myself because I was blaming, and then I'd blame out of a volition to justify why I wasn't trying to blame, and on it went. And so growing into being comfortable with yourself, growing into that mode, as I take a break, takes time, it takes understanding. And one of the things that I shared yesterday or the day before, maybe at the beginning of the week on LinkedIn, I also do a question of the week, and it seems to be coming about more about attitudes and values and some of the things that are spoken about in the real man sense, that forgiveness is a huge thing. Being able to forgive someone is not necessarily a religious activity or an activity to sort of make everyone feel good or all is forgiven, because we all know that words are cheap. You have to act that out. But being in a frame or a mindset which says, you know what, I'm not taking that offence and letting it control my future thinking, right? Because you can kind of train yourself to get into, and I'm susceptible to this, guys. If you've heard of this word, it's called rumination. It comes from an old Latin word, ruminate, which relates to animals that chew their cud. They ruminate, right? I don't know what the noun of those animals are in terms of ruminatory or ruminators, but you tune over, sometimes you ruminate in your mind certain things, and I tell you, it can be a trap. When I was going through my divorce, I had, for 2 years, I'd gone to a counsellor. totally encourage you in these podcasts to have a look at the divorce series. And I just want to encourage anybody that's going through a divorce, facing separation, facing the finality of what's really going on, and you're hurt and you're busted, you really need to get someone to soundboard off it. I recommend that could be a counsellor or someone that's not a close friend, because friends are there for various reasons, and normally a friend's there for emotional support, right? But they're not there, and they can't understand or walk through the entire debacle, right? Because it's taxing, and they'll carry you for a bit, but they want you to kind of create your own boundary, right? They don't want to have to, set the boundary out, because they don't want to offend you, and of course that stresses them out, and they will distance themselves. And alternatively, and as I've said in this, you'll note that some people run. And then that whole thing of you know who your friends are because they'll stick with you thick and thin. But some people do distance themselves, and they hit the ground. They're like ostriches. They go. Why? Because they, and ironically, when I first brought this up, I think it's very, very true, that they're worried that whatever you're going through, the shit that's coming your way, will somehow stick to them, and they will become a part of the process that you're already going through. Okay? Lots of reasons why people do things, not necessarily the reasons that you perceive or assume that they do it. Okay, so where was I? Alright, so we were going through looking at the divorce series, but along the way I had a counsellor, and I would go to this counsellor I went for 2.5 years, and I kind of grew up into owning my issues, grew up into looking at things, and I can't recommend enough doing that. So I've lost my train of thought already. It sounded good. This is all unscripted, by the way, as you know, but I want you to hear the authenticity in this. Okay, I'm not talking to you as a 25-year-old or a 20-year-old or somebody who's trying to build an online profile. I'm talking to you as a real man. I am now currently, 51 years old. I'm active. I'll compete in the surf. I love surfing. And I have a presence of mind. And now I'm building a business at 51. So I don't believe it's about age. I believe it's about intent and about how you want to conduct your life and how you want to live it. There are universal laws, and you can't change that. And people will try to say, well, do it this way, read that book, do this or do that. Eventually, you'll come to realize that there are universal laws set in stone. Why? Because it's just set up that way. If you're trying to, swim upstream in a stream that's not actually healthy for you, you yourself will come away damaged. Alright, so where are we heading with this? I wanted to talk about having the power to make decisions. So, today, there is a bit of a conflict of interest that has arose through a mutual supplier or customer as such. And I found myself being roped into the aspirations of the person that I'm running this company for. And the aspirations were that really going to put me in a bad light, right? Because I had to make a line in the sand decision, and I didn't really want to do that. Hard to do when you don't want to offend people, you don't want to get angry, and you definitely need a heck of a lot of power to be able to maintain and say, by the way, this is where my stand is. Now, this has taken 20 or 30 years to actually get to this stage where I'm able to do that. I'm able to actually state my case, state my position, and stay with it, and yet be cool about it. So, some of that